This period brought to you by Scotiabank, proud supporter of over 5,000 community hockey teams and Canada's 5th season.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the True North. This is Winnipeg, and the Jets and the Coyotes are going at it tonight. Winnipeg's their 7th game in 11 nights. They've won 3 in a row. Here are the goalies. Tonight will mark the 29th start of the season for netminder Mike Smith. He was solid last night in Minnesota, stopping 30 of the 32 shots. At the other end, Andre Pavelec will start for the Jets. He was simply amazing Thursday versus the Stars, stopping a season high 46 of 47 shots. Greg Millen along with me. Scott Oak, of course, reporting downstairs. Vermette, Bottker, and Reeder for Arizona. Little, Wheeler, and Ladd starting for the Winnipeg Jets. And they'll get the puck in deep right off the bat, winning the faceoff at center ice. The goalie, Mike Smith, out to play it. Cleared through center ice, and Arizona on the attack now coming in. Off the wing comes in Bottker. No shot on goal. He's in behind the net to pick it up. Flipped it back off the boards. A shot missed the goal, and Winnipeg's captain takes over. Ladd got a nice pass away. Down the net right side. Byfuglien likes to join the rush. He's doing it well, too. Centering pass, however, is picked off by Bottker. He can't clear it out. Good play by Byfuglien again. He's in around the net, the big guy with the puck. Backs it up in around the goal again, and Wheeler looks around. He pulls away from a check. At the blue line, Kane, little weak shot in front of the net, and both teams are changing early. We played just 55 seconds of the opening period. The crowd trying to get the Jets going early, too. But on the other hand, it's coming in on the wing. Popiskowski took a shot that missed. Off the boards and taken over by the Winnipeg Jets. They'll be backed up and they'll get organized back there, led by Bogosian. He just flipped it on the boards over here on this side. It's cleared, but not out. Back of the net again. Now then, Enstrom. He'll start up with a pass to Kane. Down across the line. He threw it in there for Frolik. A little bit too far for him. He did get in to pick it up. Sliced it in behind the net. And the Jets get it to the line. That quick pass by Sherratt is good. The high shot, however, missed the net. And they fight for it back there. It comes right back to the line again to Sherratt. Shot deflected and just missed the short side. Winnipeg trying to get the first goal here by the looks of it. They're on the puck in deep, court checking well. Played along the boards and stopped at the line. Played ahead by Sherratt again. Not far enough. However, Kane got it. He fired it in, and Byfuglien has moved up. But the puck is cleared out to center ice. A long shift, but both of these lines are changing. Some of them anyway. Sherratt left it, and Byfuglien's shot is on. And it's stopped by Mike Smith, but a heck of a start to the game, a good pace.
Yeah, and a heck of a start for Byfuglien as well, as he's back on the blue line, been there for a while, and I really believe that his forward stint early in the season really helped him defensively, and he seems to be joining the attack now at much better times, and when he does that, he's an absolute horse that nobody can touch, and he starts this game off and sends a message early here in Winnipeg tonight.
Lowry against Hansel of Arizona. Hansel kicked it ahead, and they're out of the zone quickly. Doan left it on that far side for Gagne. He lifted one in and gives chase himself. Doan picked it up, got it back. Pass by Hansel over near the front of the net, but it'll be cleared by Winnipeg easily. Again, the pace continues to be quick. His shot in, but back there quickly was Hansel. He played it ahead, not out. Long shot by Thorborn is deflected wide of the goal. Gagne over here, that nearly was picked off inside the line. So the Jets get back on side, and while they're at it, we're changing. Samuelson behind his own goal for the Arizona Coyotes. His partner shot it away down the ice. No icing, waved off immediately. And Bogosian heard that and got back in a hurry. Didn't get the puck though. Fired ahead on the boards. Peluso made sure it got out. Here's a break coming in. Gagliardi. And a nice blocker save by Smith. He had to go up that short side, but Smith made a nice save. Puck was off the hand of Enstrom and out of the zone. Winnipeg regrouping. Chopped in again by Gagliardi. But he didn't get the puck in deep enough to give chase on a forecheck. Coyotes shoot it down the ice. That was a Reader, and he was hit pretty good along the boards. Two referees letting them go early in the game. Bear and Brad Watson. That's Jean Bear, the other referee. Arizona. Play back to the line by Vermette. It got outside the blue line. Michael Stone backed up through the pass ahead. They're coming in again. Centering pass, a bit too high to handle for Ekman Larsson. Jets get in. Quick shot, score! That's that first line again. Little, Wheeler, and Ladd. And Little came up quickly on the play and scored the first goal of the game.
Well, Brodker here with the giveaway, and he tries to throw it back against the flow, and it doesn't work, and that allows a 2-on-1 break, and the captain throws it over a Little. Well, what a shot as he gets it up over top of Smith, who's overplaying the initial chance by Little, and Little just gets it up, a flutter ball off the crossbar and down into the net. And Ladd with a beautiful pass, and it looked to me like Smith was really waltzing out at Ladd, and Ladd read that beautifully and then threw it over to Little, and Little with the changeup gives the Jets the early lead.
His 18th goal of the season. And as you said, Greg, that was a dandy shot. Came in so fast. We've said it already, the pace has been terrific to start the hockey game. And the speed of the Jets that time got the first goal. 1-0. Murphy stopped in at the line for Arizona. It is kept in on a quick shot. It's just tipped wide of the net. Alishchuk got back to help out. Deep in his own zone. Brought on by Lowry. Puck in deep in that Arizona zone again. And the Jets with a 1-0 lead keep the pressure on. However, Gagne comes up to center ice. Got across center and ducked it in. Jets are all back. Enstrom got it loose. Bogosian is his partner back there on the blue line. And they get the puck out, but nobody could rush with it. However, picked up by Kane again. Pass over in front, missed everybody. From the line, a shot tipped by Kane at the side of the net. He got it again, whipped the pass out here on this side. Kept in by Enstrom. And then Frolik shot it behind the net, out front, Shifley, and he couldn't handle it. From the blue line, fired in wide of the goal again by Bufflin. Then he stopped it on the clearing attempt by Arizona. They're back on their heels a bit now. It's a quick pace set by Winnipeg. I know it sounds like a broken record, but really a great start to the hockey game.
Well, the whole league is talking about the Winnipeg Jets right now, particularly teams in the Western Conference. They're impressed with their size and speed, and if they get in the playoffs, they're going to be a team to reckon with. And this goal is a tough play for the goaltender Smith. Here he's coming across expecting a hard shot and ends up with a change-up flutter ball. And that absolutely fools him because he's looking for the bing-bang play and doesn't get it. It's a pretty good depth here in Winnipeg so far in terms of goal scoring.
They had the first goal, and a bid for the second goal was stopped by Mike Smith. Coyotes can't clear the zone. Great pressure exerted by Winnipeg on the forecheck. Behind the net, Andrew Ladd, he was grabbed a little bit, but the play goes right on. Comes loose. Some of the crowd down there wanted a penalty called. Winnipeg are 17-6-5 when they get the first goal in the game. They've got the first goal tonight at 4:08. Little scored it, his 18th of the season. Little race for the puck, and Connor Murphy takes it, slides it over for Samuelson. He shot it down. That's Ekman Larsson, down the ice, and that'll be called back. Nice goal by Little. 1-0.
Jets are finishing up a torturous part of their schedule tonight. Their 7th game in 11 nights with a chance to go very impressive 5-1-1. Didn't start out well with a loss in Arizona, but then an impressive 3 points in LA and Anaheim, followed by 3 wins. Striking thing here is how tough it is in the Central Division. Jets have been 4th, holding on to a wild card spot for the better part of the season. Even with their run, Bob, they're still 4th.
Standing a moment ago for the coach of Winnipeg. Look out. Little pass in front of the net. Arizona trying to get even right away. But that'll be cleared away. Little had it on his skates, then a stick, and cleared it out. They're on the attack. Nice easy save by Mike Smith. Stick save that time, and Samuelson hangs on to the puck behind his own goal, but Winnipeg steals it in front of the net. No shot through by Ladd. He hit a skate with it, and the Coyotes get it up the center and dump it in. Standing O for the coach, Paul Maurice. He hit his 500th win. Second youngest in the National Hockey League to do that. Fellow by the name of Scotty Bowman. He's number 1. So 2 great coaches we're talking about. Here's his goal by Arizona. A quick shot from the line. Ekman Larsson, the young promising defenseman, just unloaded the shot. And I don't believe Pavelec saw it right off the bat because he didn't move. It went right through. Well, tie game.
Larsson's had a terrific year in terms of offense. He's got 9 power play goals. Here's the handoff from Pavelec. He gives the puck away. Now sneaking in from the point is Larsson after the Coyotes get good puck control, come from behind the net, and a pretty little pass from Shane Doan to find Ekman Larsson, and he just rifles it up over top of Pavelec, who never gets set for the shot from the point.
Into that scoring play in a moment. It could be an unassisted goal. A quick shot from just inside the blue line. And a 1-1 game now as we approach the 8-minute mark of this, the first period in Winnipeg. The sellout crowd, 15,004 this Sunday night at the MTS Center. Puck is out of play over the glass.
Number 19, Shane Doan, and number 11.
So Doan out the last game with a foot problem, got hit with a puck. Gets inserted back into the lineup tonight. And Ekman Larsson to the left of your screen just sneaks in, and nobody for the Winnipeg Jets here. They're all collapsing down low, concentrating on Doan. And Ekman Larsson, who has that terrific shot, just sneaks in from the point and rifles it. And what a year this youngster's had for the Coyotes.
3:28 after the little goal that saw Winnipeg jump to an early lead. They've tied the game as Wheeler gets the puck across center, dumped it in, and ran into the linesman. That's on the offside anyway. Ekman Larsson, his 12th, and there were 2 assists, in fact. And Doan got 1. Hansel got the other.
Well, let's take a look at the keys to the game, brought to you by Tim Hortons Coffee. And for Phoenix, Smith has been poor at best this season. He's had an off year, his save percentage under 9. He was very good against Minnesota last night. He needs another performance tonight if his team has a chance. And the Arizona power play, I'll get it right yet, has been very good this season, and you got to stay out of the box against Arizona.
A 1-1 tie. 9-minute mark coming up, first period in Winnipeg. Icing on that shoot in, so they'll bring it all the way back inside the Arizona line.
And one of the reasons that Arizona's power play has been so good, and why Paul Maurice's group has to be careful, is that Larsson on the point has 8 power play goals, and they set it up extremely well. One of the few positives for Arizona this season has been their success on the power play.
Scheifele, Kane, and Frolik for Winnipeg. They can't win the draw, but Frolik stopped the clearing attempt, and then Scheifele has a chance to play, and he gave it away inside the blue line on that backhand pass. It shot down the ice. They're going to wave off any icing. That puck was rolling so slowly. Backed up behind the net for Sherratt. He starts Kane off. Nice move. Then a second didn't pay off. Played back in by Brandon McMillan for Arizona. They're going to keep it in for a bit. Pass back to the line, and Yandel's shot was weak and wide of the net. Kept him though. Quick shot by McMillan was off his stick. There goes Frolik. Had a little room to get it up there for Kane. He shot it in. 2 of his mates are gone on the change. He stays on the forecheck, and now he swings around and heads off to the bench. Both teams changing as we approach the halfway mark of period number 1 in Winnipeg, and the shots are 5-2 in favor of the Jets. The score is tied at 1. Again, another icing call against Arizona.
Larsson now with 12 goals of the season. We'll give you a sample of some of them, as he is not afraid at all to jump in from the point and sneak in. And he's got that absolute bomb as well. That was a rolling puck he caught against the Edmonton Oilers. And here's the play where the puck is shot in tonight. Pavelec with the giveaway. He should have just given it to his defenseman there and didn't. Some poor communication going on. And the end result is Larson sneaking in from the point and blasting it home to tie the game up.
Harrison had to get back in a hurry to prevent a break by Arizona as the puck came off the back boards deep in the zone. Now three of them get skating, but the pass didn't work for Vermette. That slowed everything. So Jets are back to pick it up. Shot away outside the line, and it'll be Winnipeg trying to move it up, and they do to Wheeler. Wheeler gets the puck in deep, and it's around the net, and Mike Smith stepped out. Coyotes 1. Jets and Winnipeg 1. Vermette tried a backhand pass. That worked. The defenseman Murphy moved up. Shot is on. Gloved by Pavelec, and he hangs on to it. Little and Ekman Larson trading goals. We're tied.
Welcome back. Time now for the complete player profile presented by Asante Wealth Management. Michael Frolik is a complete player according to these numbers. 46 games, 25 points. He's a plus player, getting almost identical time on both the power play and penalty kill. Being so complete has Frolik in line for a new deal, which we're given to understand his representatives and Kevin Cheveldayoff are talking about now, Bob.
Chip Chara won the draw and put it in deep, but the linesman said it wasn't done fairly. Bring him back and we'll do it again. Lowry for Winnipeg tucked it over on the boards. Coyotes are on that in a hurry, but it won't matter. Got behind the net where Lowry was waiting. Poked it up a little bit. It's still inside the zone pretty deeply, and on the board, stopped at the line. Shot by Murphy didn't get anywhere. Lowry fights for it. It goes to the far side, slapped behind the net by Samuelson. 1-1 tie. First shot of the game by Arizona, really. Another close call. Pavelec got down to prevent any further trouble. Kyle Chip Chara was right there and maybe a little too close to the goalie, and the Jets didn't like that.
Here's Pavelec here with the giveaway. Sherrati, a bad communication. It ends up on the back of his net because of that. He just needed to give it to the goaltender, and Sherrod had to tell him. Now, a couple of shifts later, good communication there as Stewart says, leave it. The puck gets wheeled around, and that time, a better play by Pavelec and his defenseman, and the Jets get out of the zone. Little plays that can cost you in the course of a hockey game if you don't execute properly.
Face off to the left of the goalie for Winnipeg. On it is Bogosian. Got it up on the right side. Frolik dumped it to center, but immediately Kane was hit. And the play goes offside.
Vander Kane has a good streak going. 3 goals in his last 4 games. He's played a physical brand of hockey since starting the season injured, and for me, he's maturing every year a little bit more as a hockey player, and this year I think has been one of his best in terms of a complete game that he's been playing.
So once again, Bogosian had to turn back. Gave it to Enstrom for Winnipeg. Down to that far side. Frolik stepped up a little bit to get to center, preventing an icing. Shot it in there, and it's deflected away. Frolik stopped it, threw it to the line. That long shot wide of the net. Zach Bogosian back in the lineup tonight, and he waits along the boards back near the line. Ansel takes over for Arizona. He's there with the angle. Pile of players fight for the puck. Winnipeg checking closely, centering pass, just harmlessly in front of the net, and then a long pass for Doan, but he couldn't knock it down. Winnipeg, on the other hand, bring it on. Kane dropped it back. He's with Scheifele turning. Scheifele just flipped the rink-wide pass, easily picked off. Vitale racing in, he's fast. Got a shot away, deflected wide of the net, and he falls behind the goal on the puck, got up, made a good play with it. Back to the blue line. Samuelson shot it in there, and again, Vitale was after it. Back to the line on this side, and Murphy took a shot. Missed the goal, not by much. Centered by Vitale. Vitale all over the place in there, it seems. Back to the line again, and that long shot by the defenseman Samuelson is wide of the net. McMillan went after it in there. Oh, he was hit hard. And the referee of the blue line is calling the play. And this draws a bit of a crowd. I think Bufflin threw a right hand in there on his opponent, but a check from behind, and there'll be a penalty.
Yeah, I think it's Brad Watson, the backer official, that's going to, no, maybe not, it's going to call us anyway. It's going to get Bufflin for ramming McMillan into the boards. And Bufflin just said, hey, I'm a big man, that's a hockey play. But does he get the numbers when he turns around? Let's have a look. Yeah, right on the numbers, and that's why he's in the box for 2 or less.
Boarding, I think they'll call it.
Yep. That's close. I mean, he gets him into the boards for sure head first, and Millen turned a bit, but nevertheless, the back official picked it up and called it.
It's the first penalty of the game. We have 7:39 remaining in the first period. So 12:41 the time of the penalty. Make that 21. And the first power play, and here's the first chance. Handel jumps it off. Stays back at the line, takes the pass. Comes over here on this side, returning the other side. Nice save by Pavelec. That'll be cleared away. The Jets get it out and down the ice quickly. This is the good part of this Arizona team. Their power play. Led by Yandel on this rush. Just onside. No, it was not. Close call at the blue line. The linesman calls it. Offside.
And the Winnipeg Jets have had a few problems this season staying out of the penalty box. That is for sure first in the league in terms of time short. And as you mentioned, Bob, this Arizona power play can be lethal, and they scored a couple of power play goals the last time these two teams met in Phoenix as Arizona beat the Jets in that evening. And they scored early and often on the power play that night.
And on the road, they're second in the National Hockey League in that department. Power play, that is. Nearly 25% efficiency, but this time it's saved in front of the net by Toby Enstrom. Didn't clear the puck right away. So Arizona looking for a go-ahead goal maybe. Nearly given up at the line. Shot coming from Yandel. No, he passed off. Right in close. And a nice save by Pavelec. Reeder came in and he waited and appeared to have the goalie moving and tried to lift it. But Pavelec made a dandy stop.
Coach Dave Tippett compares Reeder to Jari Lehtinen, a player he coached in Dallas, a strong defensive player. But one of the things he has to work on is his offensive skills. But give Pavelec credit here. He comes right out, good patience, and then drags that glove. And Reeder does not get the puck up over top of him.
55 seconds left on this power play. There's another chance. That pass not knocked down in front of the net, however. Kept in by Bottker. Back to the line. Yandel again. He'll go to Bottker once more. Steps up a little bit. On the backhand. Doesn't like that position. So goes right wide with the pass. Yandel faked the shot and gave it up again. On the other side, Yandel shoots this time. It's stopped and cleared by the Jets. Down the ice. Good play by Jim Slater right there in front of the net. And he didn't wait a second. Let it rip out and down the ice. 18 seconds left in the power play, and they're going to clear it again. Jets doing well, pulling this off. Penalty killing, 9th in the National Hockey League, over 80%. Efficiency, and they nearly have this one done. However, here's a shot that's ripped hard and wide of the net by Michael Stone. Arizona in on top of it, but the power play is over. They're in after the puck in front of the net, and down is Pavelec. He can't find it. Now he does. Reached out somehow. The crowd is there, and Chip Chara got a knocker. So in there, that'll draw another big crowd. Whenever they get this close to the goalie, and he's down, of course, they don't like it. 3 shots on the power play. Well done, Winnipeg. They've killed it off.
Welcome back. Don't forget Ron McLean coming up in our first intermission from Charlottetown on Rogers Hometown Hockey. The Matthew Perreault injury on Friday in Chicago had Paul Maurice seething and Dan Carcillo in line for a suspension. Carcillo had initially agreed to an in-person hearing, but now we understand he's had a change of heart and will have a phone hearing tomorrow afternoon. But the fact that he was offered the opportunity to plead his case in person suggests that he is in line for a 5-game suspension at the very least, and by late late tomorrow afternoon, we should know what the decision is from the Department of Player Safety. And as you can see, TJ Gagliardi drawing in tonight for Perreault, who will be out. Paul Maurice expects until after the All-Star break. Bob?
This is a rugged team here in Winnipeg. Their average height 6'2", and average weights 208. They're out hitting Arizona in this first period 14-6. That'll slow anybody down. But it's a 1-1 tie. Goals by Little for Winnipeg, Ekman Larson for Arizona, and they're on the attack again. Little shaken on the far side by Block Curry, got it back to the blue line. Scheifele couldn't stop his man. Now it's tipped away, and here he is again. This is Byfuglien. Sharp angle. Good play by Michael Stone to come back and keep him outside. However, he's down now, and there's going to be a penalty called against Michael Stone. Holding call.
Well, the hometown kid coming home gets the penalty in a real nice one-on-one play on Byfuglien to start this play. And then Byfuglien, who tips it by now. This big horse just gets going. Stone gets back, great stick, but then that free arm afterwards, right there, and Byfuglien falls down. That's a bit of a soft penalty. But how do you handle Byfuglien when he's got the puck like this? That he is such a horse. However, that play was close. I mean, yeah, the arm was around Byfuglien's neck a little bit, but I don't know if it was enough to draw the penalty.
Well, they win the face-off to set it up. Byfuglien deals it off and stays open. You're going to watch him carefully. No shot from him there, and he gets the puck again. Goes up there for a Little. Hard pass to handle that one. Byfuglien stops it at the line and waits. Now again to Little. No shot. And it's driven down the ice by Connor Murphy. So the penalty killers are changing up for Arizona. 1-1 is the score. Under 5 minutes left to play in the first. Winnipeg on the move on their first power play of this game. Dropped back to the line. Now Byfuglien shoots. Stopped and cleared again by the Arizona Coyotes. The goalie out of the net, Pavelec. And this is Brian Little. That's some nice room to start off with that smooth skating of his. Up it goes to Ladd. Back to him. Missed it. Off the boards and out again, so they have to get back on side in a hurry. 3:57 left in the period, which is tied at 1. Winnipeg's power play now. Little look out. He nearly gave it up. Did give it up. Couldn't find it in the skates. And it's easily cleared the length of the ice by Chris Summers. Now down to center. 3-on-3 is nearly done, by the way. 4-on-3, I should say. It's off the boards and cleared down the ice. And this power play is going to be done as Chip Chura comes out of the penalty box. Goes for a change. Winnipeg comes up with the puck. Nice pass to Kane. Comes in on an angle. Decides not to shoot it. That was a smart move. Very bad angle for him. Good work by Byfuglien to keep it in. Frolik looks back. Frolik waits. Back to the line for Enstrom. Winds up. Fake the shot. Missed Frolik with the pass. It's in deep. Frolik again. Back to the line. Now the shot. Off the goalpost. And it stays out. Had the goalie beaten. Here's another. And that's whipped high by Evander Kane. Finally goes out of play off a stick. But Winnipeg coming so close. Hard shot off the crossbar or the post, and it went high.
Yeah, the only good chance of the power play really is Winnipeg had a tough time getting the puck set up. But here is the blast to the point. Through traffic. Smith never saw it at all. You saw his reaction afterwards. A little bit upset that he didn't have a chance to have a good peek at that puck, but gets a break. And the game stays at 1.
And 2:48 remaining in the period. You hear the ringing off the iron behind Mike Smith. As you mentioned, he didn't move. It was a hard shot, but stayed out. It's still 1-1. Shots for 9-7 in favor of Arizona now. Doan on the boards, waited and got the puck back out to center ice. Shot in deep. Coyotes come back. Ansel took off. The pass didn't get to him. Now it might. Up to center. He backhands the puck in deep. That'll be Toby Enstrom coming back. Hansel was in on him in a hurry. He's got Shane Doan there with him too. Doan has the puck on his stick against the dasher board. Couldn't get it loose to make a play. Hansel might. He stopped with a body check, and Doan was in there, and he just was put off stride and couldn't keep his stick down on the ice. Played along the boards near the blue line and out. Will they call it icing? Think so. They'll bring it back.
Can our work today build a better tomorrow? Our answer is yes. Come and see what yes can do.
So on the icing, the face-off is to the left of Pavelec. 1:58 remaining in the first period, which is tied at 1. Little and then Ekman-Larsson. The Jets can't get going. It's scooped a bit too high by Thorburn and over the boards at the bench.
Oh, with Arizona playing last night, this is a good opportunity for the Winnipeg Jets, who have been sitting at home waiting for them. But often when a team plays back-to-back, their first period has a lot of jump. And then after that, they seem to fade it often throughout the course of a game. As you look at the Winnipeg Jets, these are must-points games like this when you're playing at home against a team underneath you in the standings. No matter how much the Jets seem to win, it's very difficult in the West to continue to gain ground.
There goes Little after the puck. Put a shot in wide of the net. Comes off the boards. Little and Vermette. Their lines are on now. And it's cleared out down to Bottker. In on the net. Off the outside of the post that time. Back in front for Bottker. Couldn't control it quickly enough to get another shot. He stops it now and brings it on. And to make a quick pass in over the line.
There's a penalty.
That sure is a penalty. The knee got out. That was Reeder who picked it up and was headed along the boards toward the corner and was upended.
Yeah, by Byfuglien, a dangerous play. Reeder had a great chance just before this, and he's had 2 in this period. And he jumps around to get around Byfuglien, and then that's when he gets the penalty. Now here's the first chance by Reeder, cutting to the side and just rattled off the post as he almost got the goal there. And then right after that on the same shift, Byfuglien just gets that leg caught and freezes, and Reeder goes down, and that's why Byfuglien's in the penalty box for 2 or less. One thing the Jets have had a bit of an issue with in this period is they've got caught a couple times, their defensemen jumping up, and Phoenix has some pretty good speed, and they've been able to get some chances off the rush because of it.
Arizona's second power play now of the hockey game. They had 3 shots the first time they had the man advantage. The game is tied, and we have 1:16 left to play in the first. Let's see how this power play works. Vermette on the faceoff wins it cleanly. Came back to Ekman-Larsson. Now they spread out in there, the 5 of them. Over here for Yandel. Had to hurry that pass into Doan. Winnipeg again in a good spot. And it's out and down the ice. Under 1 minute remaining in period number 1. This play has been halted. And the faceoff is coming in the Arizona zone. 1-1 the score. 10-7 of the shots in favor of Arizona are on the power play. And there's the face-off win by the Coyotes. Yandel again, the apparent quarterback for the team in the power play, starts them off. They get the zone, passed in front of the net. Wheeler got back, and a great back-checking roll, killing a penalty, got control of the puck. 38 seconds left to play in period number 1. Wheeler checked his man. The 2 of them hit the ice. Coming on. The young defenseman played it up. Ekman-Larsson comes in after it. Behind the net, Bottker tried to center. He did. Backhand shot is stopped. Big save by Pavelec, and he was down. And out to center is Evander Kane. Roll the puck ahead. 2 checkers back against him, and they get the puck from him. Bottker turns it around in his own zone. 8 seconds left. They have to hurry to get a shot. They won't do it. Frolik might. He's in. Shoots. It rolled in there all right, and the save is made just before the buzzer. That ends this first period in Winnipeg. Wow, Pavelec was outstanding right there for a moment.
Well, Arizona right there in front of the net. Shane Doan with the puck right in a perfect position. He couldn't lift it over Pavelec, and Pavelec gets a little lucky here as he just drags his pad, and the puck ends up moving right into it.
Big save indeed. 1-1 after the first period.
Welcome back, everybody, as we continue with Rogers Hometown Hockey from MTS Center in Winnipeg. Don't miss an all-new episode of Mike and Molly tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. ET Pacific time as well on City, or catch up on citytv.com. Well, earlier, Bob mentioned Paul Maurice becoming the second youngest NHL head coach to reach 500 wins, which he did Tuesday night versus Florida. His first coaching career win came in Hartford when he was 28. Maurice and his wife celebrated that night by hitting the Burger King drive-thru on the way home. For 500 on Tuesday night, he did even less. This, by the way, was in the commercial break earlier in the first period when they acknowledged Paul Maurice's 500th career win, and he acknowledged the crowd. But as I was saying, for 500 wins on Tuesday night, did less than he did in Hartford. He and his wife just drove home, although he says they might have, for old time's sake, stopped at a drive-thru if they could have found one, and it wasn't 35 below. Took Maurice 19 years to get to 500. He never really had a powerhouse team, so it's quite an accomplishment. Nothing says he can't get to 1,000. Even if it took another 19 years, he'd be a young 66. But Maurice told us earlier tonight he can't see that happening because he says he feels like he would probably look like he was 105. Bob.
Paul Maurice has turned things around here in Winnipeg since he arrived. Very popular coach with his players, with the fans, and with us too. So nice to work with when we get to a rink to prepare for a game.
So often, Bob, when you take some time away from the game to regroup, coaches actually do some self-evaluation and think about how they're going to coach the next time they get a chance. And Paul going over to Russia really helped him in that regard. And also just taking a step back, and as he mentioned to us before the game, he said, when I started in this league, the players were all older than I was. And now it's a little bit different, and I feel much more confident coaching these young men.
Power play continues for another 44 seconds. Buffalo is in the penalty box for Winnipeg. And Yandel steps up in a 1-1 tie. Puck is shot in wide of the net, hoping for a good rebound off the boards. Doan got it, played it back. He didn't see Frolik out there, and he just tapped it down the ice and nearly had a break for himself. Yandel was back, however, flipped it up here to Bottker. He couldn't get it too far, and Winnipeg Jets send them back again. 15 seconds left in the Buffalo penalty. Yandel brings it on to center ice. Had to back it up. That's okay. They carry on and get the zone. It is Doan playing it in. Got it back to the line to Yandel. Rink-wide pass. The shot stopped by Pavelec. And the penalty is done. 2 shots on that power play.
It wasn't a real sharp period for the Winnipeg Jets. Defensively, they had a few breakdowns. Pavelec had to be very sharp in period number 1, as there were some pretty good looks by Arizona throughout the period. His best save, perhaps, was there on Reeder coming up, where he just dragged his glove and made a beautiful stretch save.
Little, Ladd, and Wheeler on now for the Winnipeg Jets. Flipped in around the net by the defenseman, Sherrod. And again, laid back out to Little. Little tapped it up over center ice, but that's broken up. Chipchura didn't make a good pass, and Wheeler was able to play it back. Now Wheeler gets it again. Comes over center, took a hit along the boards, and dumped it in as he was caught by Chipchura. Puck shot deep, hit the boards in the corner, nearly got over in front of the net. Played up by Ladd, shot into the crowd, and that was blocked. Frolik didn't see it in time. Lifted away, but not cleared out yet. It bounces outside the line, and Frolik played it back to his defenseman. Shot in there all right by Sherrod, and he heads off on a change. Score! Oh, that was a bad move in that zone by the Coyotes, and all alone was Frolik.
Well, Mike Smith is a puck-handling goaltender, and normally the defense get away from him on shoot-ins. And here is the shoot-in now. Smith gets the puck behind the net, and they get away from him, but a miscue here as the puck goes right over the stick of Connor Murphy on his backhand, and then the rest is history as Frolik is wide open in front as Kane finds him after the giveaway between Smith and Connor Murphy.
You can't afford to make a weak play like that in your own zone very often without being stung. Well, Winnipeg is ahead in the game. They're coming on again, led by Scheifele back here. And the shot stopped. Big rebound. Down is Mike Smith. And he keeps that out. Played back to the line for Bogosian. Frolik back to the line again. Enstrom's shot is right on. Covering up is Mike Smith. He's not getting much help as Winnipeg is passing the puck beautifully inside that blue line.
And of course, a play like that creates energy for the home team. And the next shift is a good one because of it for the Jets. And Smith had to be very sharp. As off the rush here, some poor coverage by Phoenix. A big-time rebound by Smith, who can't find the handle on the puck as Bogosian leans into the shot. And this puck just hops over the stick of Kane, who is left wide open in front of the net.
The Frolik goal giving Winnipeg the lead 2-1 was unassisted. Nobody moved for the puck that time. Frolik on a bit of a hot streak. 16 points now in his last 19 games. This is McMillan bringing the puck out. Over here to the defenseman. Ekman-Larsson brings it on. Given up inside the line, and the Jets all back to cover. However, the pass back to the line again. Ekman-Larsson threw it in deep around the net as Joe Vitale lost it, got it back, centered it off a skate to the blue line. 2-1 Winnipeg now, centering pass. Fanning on it was Brandon McMillan, and the Jets get going again. Down to center ice and back into the line. Nobody really made a good play. It got in deep. Didn't quite do it. Coburn was up to make sure it stayed deep again for Lowry. Lowry on the boards lost it. Coyotes get the puck to the line and out. Reeder brings it on. Over the line, takes a look in front, decides to shoot it anyway. It's hit hard in there. Turning back is Lowry. He put it up on the glass and got it down the ice. Chasing was Halischuk. Coyotes back, tipped on the boards and out to center ice again. Nearing the 4-minute mark of the second period. On his knees, how are you? Chris Silver making the pass. Getting the puck in deep at the end of a shift. That line gone. Forechecking Andrew Ladd. Off a glove and out. Couldn't be knocked down near the blue line by Jim Slater. He was turning. Little was up there in the forecheck. Couldn't stop the puck. The pass was made down the ice. Byfuglien saw that. Wheeler carries on. Backhand of the puck in and gives chase. Great skating winger for Winnipeg. Wheeler, the veteran, played it to the boards. And now Chip Chora brings it on. Got it on the right side for Korpikoski. Pass in front. Good pace again. It's opened up a little bit here as we come up to the 5-minute mark of period number 2. And there's Andrew Ladd. Pounded along the boards. Cleared out by Yandel and his partner, and they get it out over the line. Skating up here is Chris Summers. Lost it. Scheifele the other way. He got hit right away. And it was played back. Coyotes give it up in there. No shot got through from Evander Kane. He was surprised as much as anybody as the puck came to his stick. He was all alone. 5 seconds short of the 5-minute mark of the second. 2-1 to score. Winnipeg. Goal by Frolik, unassisted. Play called.
Well, puck handling with the goaltenders has been a factor here in this game. In the first period, of course, Havlik whips it around, doesn't give it to his defenseman, ends up in the back of the net shortly thereafterwards. And then tonight, in the second period, here goes Smith with the handoff to Connor Murphy. It goes over his stick, and Kane intercepts the play and throws it out in front. And Frolik had a gift in that play. It looks like Kane got shaken up a little bit in his last shift, and he is in some pain on the bench.
Winnipeg out shooting Arizona 4-2. Not much so far. 6 shots total. Coming up, well, we've hit the 5-minute mark now. The second. Shots in the game, 13-12. Coyotes. Scores 2-1 Winnipeg. So you're up to date. Puck is fired into that Winnipeg zone. Gagne came in, sweeping around, looking for it. Didn't get it. Jets get it out and down the ice. Poked loose at the blue line. They had to tag up. Scheifele was late coming out. Now it's okay. Ekman-Larsson around the net in his own zone. Played it to the right side. Handed back to him. Goes back again. It's shot off the boards. And down the ice by Michael Stone. Bogosian on this side, threw it, and then Frolik turned it back. Bogosian back of the net. And here they go. 4 of them come to center. Bogosian's pass was ahead. They're onside. The shot by Gallagher is blocked. Stays in there looking for it, but it's cleared away by Hansel up on the boards, and they're going to get going the other way. Down to center ice. Shot in by Ekman-Larsson. Comes off the boards into the blue ice. But Pavelec saw that, and he was very careful and got down in a hurry.
Evander Kane tonight, we'll see what happens here on this particular play. Takes a shot, whiffs on it, turns back, and seems to hurt himself when he did that. Maybe his arm, and he's the first game of the season. He's had a bit of a tough goal as he was hurt October 9th, and that put him out for a considerable length of time, and then December 27th as well was hurt. So it's been a tough year for Evander Kane with injuries.
Crombeen turns back to his own blue line and put the puck up to center. Now he has to check his man from Winnipeg trying to come on. The goalie came out. Yandel missed it. It's kept in at the blue line. Tapped ahead by a glove. The glove of Lowry. And there's Yandel coming up with a shot. Didn't miss by much either from that sharp angle. That's offside. The goal by Frolik was number 10 in the season for him. Unassisted, 139, 2-1, Winnipeg.
Having missed 2 games with a lower body injury, blocking a shot, Shane Doan was a question mark coming to Winnipeg tonight, and perhaps even more so after a bit of a mishap in warm-up. But as Dave Tippett said, when he gets the sweater on and realizes he's in Winnipeg, he'll find a way to play. Doan is the last remaining active player from the original Winnipeg Jets, Jets 1.0 as they're called in these parts. So him wearing a Jet sweater is an image that comes up when the Coyotes play in Winnipeg. Doan has played 1,357 games, but it's worth noting that only 74 of those were in the uniform of the Jets 1.0. Bob?
And Scott, 12 career 20-plus goal seasons. A star in the National Hockey League, no question about it. I saw him before the game, as a matter of fact, walking into the building tonight, and asked him, was he going to play? And he said yes, without any doubt. There was a doubt, of course. He took a shot in the ankle, and even the coach said we'll watch him in the warm-up and see how he feels. But he convinced me pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's got 1 more year left too, at just over $5 million. So this will not be the last time he'll be in Winnipeg. Next year at this time, perhaps it will be.
364 goals in his career to this point. Shane Doan. Puck on the boards, deep in the Winnipeg zone. Scramble for it. 4 players fight for possession. Winnipeg coming up with it. Shot around the net by Harrison. Doesn't get out. Over quickly is Andrew Ladd. He didn't move it very far. Dump behind the net again for Stewart. He shot it ahead, and again Wheeler set it up to clear it out of the zone, and Little did just that. Ekman-Larsson got back to make the play to get him going. Down across center. That's onside. It's shot in deep, and both teams are making changes. Frolik gets that long pass up near the line. The bump from Samuelson trying to get in a little deeper. Nice play to Hansel by Murphy. Got to the blue line, but not out. Now it will be cleared by Michael Stone. Right through the middle, past everybody, down the ice. The goalie came out. And then Sherratt shot it behind his own goal. checking inside the line now by Arizona. Sam Gagner couldn't quite come up with it, and 3 race away from Winnipeg. It is dumped in by Evander Kane. He'll get in ahead of everybody and pick it up. Frolik is behind the net, but Doan's there too, and he intercepted the pass. Checked his man Scheifele. Puck loose, and Connor Murphy for Arizona lifted a high one. That'll get down past center ice. We're coming up to the 9-minute mark. In the second period in Winnipeg, it's 2-1 Jets. Smith came out of the net and missed it the first time. Played around the net by Lowry. Nobody can quite get to it to move it one way or the other. Winnipeg is skating well inside the line, though. Back to the line was missed by Bogosian, so he had to get back in a hurry. He did. Now he gets the second pass. Flipped it up across center ice and in deep. Nobody touched it. So that's an icing call against Winnipeg.
Well, what a chance for Michael Lee, the backup goalie tonight. He was called up from the East Coast Hockey League. He's only played 5 games this year. He played only 6 games last year because he had hip surgery. And the reason they did it is the American League goalies will come up after the All-Star break, but they thought they'd just let them stay in the American Hockey League, get through Smith with him to the All-Star break, and then call up a player afterwards.
Chip Chura on the faceoff against Lowry. It got to the corner. Chip Chura was on it first. Put a weak shot in there, hoping for a stick to hit it in front of the net. Alice chucks back for Winnipeg, and now Thorburn got it up across center ice. Looks like they want to make a change. That's what they're doing. And Bogosian had to come back and stall for time. Puck is played on and down the ice by Enstrom. Up on it quickly. Peluso around and at the backhand try. And he was knocked down before he could get a second chance to shoot it at the goal on the short side. Yandel takes over. Played it on the boards, not out yet, and rolls to the line. The Jets keep it in. Now it's going to be cleared by Yandel again. Decided to come over here. It might have been a mistake. It's stopped by Peluso. And then he was able to keep it in deep. Peluso with Galiargi, and it skipped away and bounced over the stick down the ice. Peluso just dumped it in. 9:50 left to play in the second period. Winnipeg has the lead. Ever so slightly, though. The goal by Frolik, his 10th of the season at 1:39 of this second period. Icing there.
Well, a wraparound chance as Paul Maurice's group is coming on a little bit here in the second period again. Smith touches the puck and ends up giving the puck away, and he's had a tough time doing that tonight, and there's the wraparound attempt afterwards because of it. And as Peluso just jumped right around and almost beat Smith.
Little won the draw. It got a little deep for him. Then flipped on the glass out and down the ice. Rod had to hurry back. Skated right in front of his goalie. Pass comes over to Wheeler. That was a good pass. Wheeler didn't make a good pass. That was stopped, and Bufflin had to come on. He brought it up over the line. No, he didn't get in. He lost it at the blue line. And to circle back out to get in position. It's put in deep for Smith to come out of the net and play it this time. And there's Bufflin stopping it. He didn't keep it onside. Just came out and he shot it in. That's offside. 9:09 left to play in the second.
Welcome back to MTS Center in Winnipeg. Based on a true story, Scorpion follows a group of brilliant misfits hired by Homeland Security to defend against complex high-tech threats. Mondays at 9 p.m. ET and Pacific Time on City. Also available on citytv.com or the City Video app. Bob.
At this point, the shots are even in the game. 13 apiece. 9:09 left in the second period. 2-1 Winnipeg. Brian Little couldn't control on the faceoff near that Arizona blue line. Might get another chance as the puck goes out of play.
Getting back to that goalie story, Mark Visitin, the youngster that is a prospect for the Coyotes, is hurt at the moment. Mike McKenna, a veteran journeyman AHL player, has been getting most of the games, but it seems like they're going to bring up their other young player after the All-Star game in Louis Domingue. So it's been quite a goalie carousel ever since they traded Dubnyk, and you're going to see more of this in Phoenix as Don Maloney is going to be a very busy manager as the fire sale, I think, is on and officially started in Arizona.
Arizona trying to forecheck and get something going. Andrew Ladd picks it up and got it out across the line to center ice. Hard hit on Wheeler. Stopped him in his tracks. The hit by Ekman Larson. Winnipeg gets organized with a Captain Ladd shooting it ahead. Off Wheeler and into the zone deep. Here comes Wheeler to pick it up. Wheeler fights off a check. Goes to the corner. Controls the puck but gave it away with a pass back near the blue line. And Bogosian comes back for Winnipeg. On him quickly and right away is Gagne. Couldn't stop him though. He got the puck out. Winnipeg Jets get in over the line. The pass off a skate and way wide of the net. Coming back is Michael Stone. On the boards, hit a stick and got out and down the ice, and Zach Bogosian on it again to start him up. Polique played it back to Scheifele. He shot the puck in. The goalie comes out to play it. Into the corner for Stone. Couldn't move it outside the line. Stone stops his man. Scheifele on the puck, was bumped a little bit. Michael Stone again got the puck back near the line, and it's down the ice all right. And once more Bogosian is back, being chased this time by McMillan. Had to go back to the puck. They get it out anyway. Offside will be the call if they can play it, and they can't, so the play will continue. Dumped high in deep. Still 2-1. Winnipeg Jets with 7:15 remaining in the second. Lowry turns around in his own zone. Takes a look ahead. Like Thorburn wasn't ready for that, but he's fast to get in to pick it up. Kicked it loose in there for Lowry. Lowry jammed in on the boards. Thorburn couldn't reach it. It's cleared out across that line again and slapped back in just as quickly by Harrison. Chip Chora lifted a high one down the ice. That'll be Mark Stewart coming back to pick it up for Winnipeg. With the Coyotes changing, he got a pass up there and was whipped into the zone right away by Hallestruck, and he's off on a change. Here's Yandel. Down across center with that long pass. Reeder couldn't stop it. Turning back will be Galiargi. Lost at the blue line, but the Jets pick it up and get it out. Chance coming in. Peluso. Shot was on. Nice save off the blocker of Smith. Bufflin. He shoots it right. Another save off the blocker. Picked out in front of the net. Good goaltending by Mike Smith. Down comes Bodker. Had to stop inside the line. Then he was belted right away. So was Vermette in on the boards. As the Jets continue to hit. Played ahead to the line. Not out. Kept in by Arizona. Galiargi didn't see it right away. He turned around, did a 360, and then he saw the puck in the corner. The defenseman, Chirac, played it. That stopped at the blue line and kept in by Michael Stone. At the side of the net. The Jets pick it up. It's not cleared by Chirac right away. Now it's out to center ice. Backhanded in by Slater. 5:20 left in the second period. One goal game. First period ended 1-1 for Leak. The only scoring play in the second. And we played 7 seconds short of 15 minutes. And the Jets moved a little. Dropped it back in the shot. Not a hard one. Came off the heel of a stick and wide of the net. Arizona turning it back up. That was Gagne. And over the line, Crombeen brought it in, lost it along the boards. Chased it now behind the goal. He won't get there. The Jets defenseman Toby Enstrom backhanded the puck around the net, and finally Wheeler lifted one up to center ice. 4:35 left in the period. McMillan turning around. Got some speed up going to the net. The shot was deflected by Enstrom. Out of play into this big crowd in Winnipeg. We are in the second period at the MTS Center in Winnipeg. Sellout crowd again tonight, over 15,000. They're leading 2-1.
Well, it's fun for me when I see some former teammates' sons now playing in the National Hockey League. I was on the ice for Ulf Samuelsson's first National Hockey League game. We all looked at the way he played with such incredible intensity. He is a Swede coming over. We thought, this guy's going to get killed. Well, he didn't get killed, and he had a great NHL career. And now Philip in the National Hockey League, a stay-at-home defenseman, very similar to the way his father played. And yes, he's got a bit of an edge to his game as well, Bob.
Just like the old man. And
Yep.
he was so good at it. But, you know, a very decent person when you get to meet him. Oh, lovely guy.
And a good coach in this league for the New York Rangers as well, helping out there.
I remember when Wayne Gretzky retired in New York with the New York Rangers playing his last game, he asked permission to come from his home team to be there for the last game for Wayne in the National Hockey League. Winnipeg trying to get another goal here. A little shot along the ice. That left pad of Mike Smith stopped 2 in a row and draws a penalty against the Winnipeg Jets.
Halischuk takes it towards the net and just brings it right across the crease. And Smith had to drag that pad down, and McMillan then just hooks on. And it's often when you just take pucks towards the net, good things will happen as a forward. There's the cross check from behind. And that is why McMillan will be in the box for 2 or less.
Winnipeg's power play against this Arizona team has not been at all good. Not close. 0 for 13 this season when they had the power play against the young defending team. See what happens this time. It's 2-1 Winnipeg. 4 minutes left in the period. First shot is high and wide. And missing it at the line was Buffalo. Just moved a little bit to his right and couldn't reach for it. Jets could organize and Little throw a pass to the far side. Wheeler takes off to the net. He's there right in front. The pass was blocked over there by Reeder. And a chance to clear it. They don't get it out right away. To the blue line. Bufflin ready. Tossed in the head. Stays open back. At the line. The shot is wide. And he just keeps passing it around on the outside. Up to Bufflin finally. Dumped it ahead and stays open. Enstrom is with him. He carried on. At the blue line. It's just kept onside by Brian Little. And it's going to be cleared by the Coyotes. Vermette stopped it, turned, and shot it down the ice and took off to the bench. 1 minute gone in the minor penalty. Thorburn is in the box. The puck is deep behind the Arizona net, and it's out of play. Up high off a stick into the netting.
Penalty Shot, brought to you by Dodge Caravan Kids, helping over 150,000 boys and girls play the game we love.
2:53 left in the period. 48 seconds left in the power play. Winnipeg in control inside the line, hoping for the deflection in front was Bogosian as he shot it along the ice and in deep, right in near the blue ice. Didn't work. Andrew Kane got back. Started off with a long pass to Bogosian. Rink wide by him and cleared on the glass. Kane stops it. Kept it in barely. Frolik turning around. Dumped the puck ahead to the corner. Back for Frolik to the corner again and Kane the other way. The shot is wide of the net. It was partially blocked in front to the right. Scheifele went off balance. Couldn't make a play. Bogosian throws it over to the boards, and the shot is high. It was deflected up there and off the glass. Kane comes in, shoots off the blocker again. Penalty is over. So they've killed it off. Nice save with a blocker by Mike Smith again on that last scoring attempt. It's still a 1-goal game, and 1:50 remaining in the second period. Murphy taking a swing at the puck. Finally dumped out and down the ice. Bogosian taking his time coming back. He didn't see McMillan up behind him. And he turned back around his own net. Started off, got in over the line to Halischuk. And down the other way for Doan. Comes over here, and the shot fired on the short side and wide. Not sure Pavelec got a piece of that or not. He reached for it. Yandel stopped it at the line, sets it up over there for Hansel. He centered it down in front of the net and couldn't jam it home. And then he got covered with a goalie getting his hand down on the puck.
Matthew Perreault out of the lineup, of course, tonight, and that, I think, has really hurt the Jets' power play. But the good news is the Jets are starting to get healthy on the blue line, and that is huge news since they've been having an issue all season long in that area. Trouba, by the way, will be back, I think, on Wednesday, as they may put him in against Columbus, who will be in town.
19-14 the shot totals in the game. The Jets lead, and they're ahead in the game 2-1. Wheeler comes in. Bad angle for him. Put on the brakes and shot it behind the net. They had Ladd coming up there, and Ladd rolled it the other way against the flow. Wheeler tried to set him again, and he did. It's centered, backhander, and that went wide. Little got that one away. A nice setup, and then Byfuglien carries on. In around the net, looks out. The pass goes out there. It's intercepted, and it'll be cleared out. 3 Coyotes are up, rushing the zone. It's brought in over the line by Doan, trying to backhand it through. Going to break the other way for Byfuglien. Coming in hard with Little. Back in front, Little, and what a save. Might have hit the post on the outside and stayed out. But Mike Smith was there covering over on the post. Jumped high to the boards. Not out, 20 seconds left. Again, Ladd. Nice save again by Mike Smith. The right pad down that time. Dumped down the ice inside the line. 9 seconds remaining. However, that's a hand pass. Frolik thought he had a clear break.
Well, this is the Mike Smith of a year ago, and what a save this is here on an offensive blue line turnover by Arizona, and a counterattack. Byfuglien doesn't really get back in the play as a defenseman. He ends up on the play in a little pretty three-way passing play, and Smith just reads it beautifully as Wheeler does not camouflage the pass at all, and that allows Smith to read the play, and he absolutely robs Little on the other side.
Did not hit the post. He made it all the way by himself. So does Pavelec on that long shot. The shots in the period were 12-4 in favor of Winnipeg. 20-14 overall now, and Winnipeg leads 2-1.
Set for the third period in Winnipeg, the Jets have raised expectations to the point the fan base is talking about a whiteout for the playoffs. The whiteout has spread to other pro sport cities, but it began in Winnipeg in 1987 as a response to the Calgary Flames' Sea of Red and the Jets Flames first round playoff series. Officially, the Jets 2.0 marketing people don't like to even mention it for fear of getting ahead of themselves, but they know should the team make it to the postseason, there'll be no holding back the fan base from invoking history. You just saw the only player in this game who experienced a Winnipeg whiteout. Number 19, Shane Doan. The Arizona Coyotes was a Jets 1.0 rookie in 1996. Bob?
Scott, if you want to look at numbers, it looks pretty good for Winnipeg fans. When they're leading after 2 periods, they're 17-1-5. And when Arizona is trailing after 2 periods, they are 17-0. But you never know. It's 2-1, Winnipeg leading. And we're ready for the start of the third period at the MTS Center before a sellout crowd again in Winnipeg. Brian Little for Winnipeg. Antoine Vermette for Arizona. It's into the Coyotes zone right after the faceoff at center. Quickly turned around and back out. But the Jets in control. Winnipeg taking their dead time, getting organized to start the period. Pass got ahead and was missed outside the line. And the Coyotes go back to take over. That first pass didn't work from Michael Stone. He had to be careful. He didn't set up a break for Winnipeg. Dumped in over the line, in control, but nobody open to pass it to. So the Jets just beat it out again. Slow start to the third. After all, it's a 1-goal game. You need to be careful. Anything can happen. All bets are off, as they say, in a close game like this. Winnipeg coming back and turning with the puck is Enstrom. Got it ahead. Now Kane. He shoots it in. The first one in for Winnipeg is Frolik. After the puck, it's stopped at the line by Bogosian. Fed ahead. Broken up in front of the blue ice and cleared out to center ice. Stone made a nice play. Shoved over there by Hanzal. The shot fired wide of the net, and Doan read that one off the boards, but it was intercepted by Frolik. He got it out across the line. Scheifele shot off a stick and wide of the net. Kept in for Kane. Lost it down there near the boards in the corner, and Winnipeg's Scheifele just fed it ahead a little bit, not far enough. Brought out by Kropakowski. Now he had to dump it back in. Murphy brings it on. Fanned on that pass attempt. And it's just dumped down the ice by Matt Halaschuk. And that'll be called back on the icing.
Kane a little upset as the Coyotes ran him over a little bit just to the left of the goaltender, Mike Smith. And Hanzal came on, gave him a pretty good ride, and there's nothing wrong with that hit. I don't know what Kane was so upset about, but he went afterwards when the play stopped, gave him a couple of extra shoves as Hanzal came in again, and there's the couple of shoves from behind, and that was the end of it.
Sam Gagner is going to step in to take the face-off. Coyotes are winning face-offs at a rate of about 2-1 in the game to this point. There's another icing call deep in the Winnipeg zone. Watson is over there, the referee telling both teams that Winnipeg will not make a change. What is on the ice stays on, and here we go. Faceoff comes near the line, swept in by Stone. It's in deep enough all right, but quickly Stewart was back to play it from the corner. Got a little help from Thorburn, who backed it up again. Three players scramble for it. Coyotes keep it in. The shot is blocked and down the ice. A race, and out comes Smith. Made up his mind early and made it look easy as he came out. That shot by David Moss away wide of the net. In after the rebound, Chip Chara batted the puck loose. Gonna be Winnipeg though, tapping it ahead and down the ice past Halaschuk and in deep, so Winnipeg will change. Coyotes bring it on. The pass comes up for Crombeen. Flipped the puck in behind the net. Vitale was the first one in, but then lifted his stick. And Crombeen again. Vitale over behind the goal. He couldn't get the puck free off the boards to send it over there. And down the ice for Yandel. Dumped it ahead, and back and forth they go to start the third period. 4-minute mark coming up. Chance for Vitale. Shot is stopped. Vitale has a rebound. Back to the line for Yandel. Yandel ready. Wrist shot into the crowd. Easily blocked, and it comes out. And Yandel had to swing back. He comes back all right, and Gagliardi was all over him. So he had to hurry the pass, and it didn't quite work. Coming up to the 4-minute mark now. Off the stick of Crombeen and in deep for Arizona. Harrison, the Jets defenseman, got it out. Here they go again. Ladd brings it in. Flipped the shot in there, and Smith saw it all the way. So you know he's going to hang on.
Well, the Jets have to be careful here. I mean, this is a must-win for them to stay in the hunt in the Western Conference. And a giveaway here, said Vitale, right down the middle of the ice. And I mean, he just misses the net on that particular play, which you can't do. Sorry, B.J. Crombeen, and you can't miss that chance. And Pavlik just held his ground, but the Jets are sitting on a situation where Arizona played last night. They should be the tired team, and this is an opportunity for Winnipeg not to sit back, but get right after Arizona here and pad their lead a little bit in this third period.
Leader backhanded the puck to the corner, allowed them to get organized to bring the puck out, and Bodker did. Shot it down the ice. However, that's an icing call. All the way back again in that Arizona zone.
Well, Brian Little had a great chance at the end of the second period, and it was a wonderful save. And a similar play here on Friday, and he scores against the Chicago Blackhawks. And tonight, another three-way passing play, but this time Smith with a beautiful save with his left right pad. And That might be a save that we'll have to remember here in this third period if the Coyotes can ever get the next goal.
Jets lead 2-1. Out shooting Arizona 21-17. Didn't do that fairly. Drop it again to the right of Mike Smith. Andrew Ladd, the captain for Winnipeg, leans in. Vermette, a little anxious, turned around a bit. Now we're ready to go. Dropped in. Vermette wins it cleanly.
Vermette now 8-3 in the draws in this game. He's been outstanding in that area.
Winnipeg has to come back. And the lead pass gets them going near center ice. Fed into Wheeler. Sandwich keeps going. Nearly got a shot. Crowd wanted a penalty call. Two Coyotes were all over the speedster Wheeler. And Wheeler has the puck again, but it was called on the offside near the line. And wait a minute, the referee is coming over this way near the box. Nope. Everything is okay. Copacetic, as they say, and the face-off will be outside the Arizona line.
And when Wheeler gets that big body going, he's pretty tough to stop. And the fans wanted a penalty. I thought it was a pretty good play by Murphy there to knock the puck out of harm's way.
2-1 Winnipeg. Buffalo trying to shoot it in. It was stopped near the line. Now they get on track, and Stone dropped it back further. Long pass again. It was touched near the blue line, so there'll be no icing on this. Play will continue. Winnipeg making sure they're back to get control of the play in their own zone. And Buffalo starts it up. It's tipped near the line, down for Scheifele. Cutting in. Scheifele. That's stopped. Mike Smith stayed with Scheifele all the way. There was a decoy coming up too, and he had to worry about a pass there, but he made the save.
Yeah, Mike Smith's been good as Ekman Larsson here. He's going to pitch in without any support behind him, and that's what creates the 2-on-1 break. And Smith holds his ground, and no rebound either on this curl and drag shot by Scheifele.
Once they drop the puck, the 5-minute mark will have been reached here in the third period in Winnipeg. Home team leads 2-1. So it's up for grabs tonight. Kept in at the blue line by Harrison. Dumped deep behind the net. Covering was Chris Summers. Two players collide in the corner. Thorburn for Winnipeg stayed with it. Knocked it down with his glove. Comes out near the blue line. Shoveled the pass, and the shot is wide. Hit the boards and then the back of the net. So three players in on the boards, and Yandel skates the loose puck away. Got it to the line. Was it out? No, it wasn't. The play will continue anyway. Brought ahead by David Moss. It's offside at the Winnipeg blue line. Chip Chora has been active tonight. Into the heavy stuff. Whatever. He'll take it. Go for more.
Look at some of the players that may be going, and Antoine Vermette is at the top of the list. And I think you'll see him be a traded player at the trade deadline for Arizona. Good face-off man, responsible checker, has some offensive upside. And there'll be a few teams looking for a player like that at the trade deadline, as Arizona is going to clean house a little bit here, I think, and start over.
We're nearing the 6-minute mark of the period, and the shots are only 2-1 Winnipeg. This one missed the net. No shot there for Winnipeg. Dump behind the net, and covering will be Connor Murphy. He'll tap it off the glass high and get it out to center ice, but nobody could move on it, so it's shot in by Vitale. Bogosian turns it back up. Gave it to his partner and gets it back from Enstrom. Back for Enstrom again and again to the other side. Bogosian pass sliced at center ice and in deep, and Smith came out to play it. Fired it hard, and it did get outside the line. So they have to get back on side. They're doing that. Played back ends. Once again, it's Smith out of the net. That pass just tipped and got to center. Give it to Smith. You'll get this. Was nearly knocked down, though, inside the line by Andrew Ladd. He was knocked down the other way, and the shot off the right pad of Pavelec. Comes off the boards and just touched and knocked back through the center ice area. Arizona within a goal of Winnipeg. Winnipeg the favorites coming into the game tonight. Puck loose inside that Winnipeg line. Behind the goal. That is Gagne trying to center. Did get it out. Nobody was open to get a shot away. And they just bounced it back and forth until Scheifele got it up there. Played off a skate inside the line and cleared down the ice. That's McMillan up there. He'll touch it, keep the game going in there. And it's all the way to the line, and reaching for it was Summers. Just missed it. 8-minute mark coming up. Winnipeg continues to lead just by a goal. They traded goals in the first. Frolik got the go-ahead goal in the second. And that's all the scoring since 1:39 of the second period. The crowd trying to get this Winnipeg team revved up a bit while they were changing over there. The referee watched the two combatants. And the officials get in there, as you see. I don't know if he's called a penalty or made a signal for one. We'll wait and see. Looks like there's going to be one penalty. We'll come back with this one each.
Coyotes' trade of Devin Dubnyk to Minnesota on Wednesday signaled the fire sale that Greg just mentioned. Don Maloney is a seller now, and pending free agents like Vermette, as Greg said, Irat, McCulloch would be best advised not to buy any more property in Arizona. In fact, the thinking is the only players safe from being shopped are Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Michael Bodker, Tobias Rieder. You can add Shane Doan to that group unless he should decide in the waning years of his career that he wants to be dealt to a contender and makes the request. So the Coyotes are in flux, and it makes it a real challenge for Dave Tippett to get the most out of his group on a nightly basis, Bob.
One goal game, it continues to be. A break coming down quickly was the defenseman, or rather Vermette, who broke it up inside his own line. And he was checked as he hit the Winnipeg line. Couldn't get a shot. One or two strides. A little sooner and he might have been gone alone. It really didn't look dangerous. Winnipeg playing it around inside the line now, 4-4. You usually get a break or two. And here's another one coming up. Doan is in front of the net. Vermette this time passes back. The shot is from a sharp angle, easily stopped. It went out of play off the goalie.
Vermette, who Scott was just talking about, trying a little inside-out move on Enstrom, and Enstrom with that great stick. And he really does break a lot of plays up that way, makes a fine defensive play. I mean, Martin Erat, a coach's decision scratched tonight in this game. A player that had very little passion last night in the game against Minnesota. That's why Dave Tippett just sat him out. And you'll think you'll see more of that from Tippett here down the stretch.
Buffalo played it back twice. And a third time over here on this side to Shirai. Got it out, Winnipeg attacking. Wheeler takes the drop pass, comes in and centered it. Everybody was covered in front of the goal. That looked like a pretty good scoring chance. The other way for Gagne, played it in over the line. Gagne missed the second pass, and now the pace is picked up. Scheifele the other way for Winnipeg Jets. Wheeler with him. And the pass was intercepted. Coming on Yandel. He'll get a shot here if he wants. Centered it. That didn't work. And then Yandel centered it a second time, and Gagne missed it. 1-on-1. Make it 3-on-1 as they catch up for Scheifele. Score! Buffalo joined the rush. Scheifele waited and saw him. Gave him the puck. And he scored. 3-1, Winnipeg.
Well, Yandel just takes off twice in this shift. The centering pass doesn't work, and then Yandel just chips it back right back into the middle of the ice, and that creates a 3-on-1 for the Jets. And I love this finish by Buffalo. I mean, he just delays after Scheifele throws it across, waits for the goaltender Smith to go down, and just with those soft hands for a big man, just chips it up over top of Smith to give the cushion that the Jets have been looking for, that 2-goal lead.
That 2-goal lead it is, with the 12th goal of the season by the defenseman. Buffalo scores. Scheifele set him up. 9:36 of the third period. 3-1. Winnipeg. Stone missed the pass. Had to hurry up and get it into the corner, but it's cleared out again. Scramble for the puck between the two blue lines. Dumped into the zone by Hansel of Arizona. Taken over by Bogosian. He'll turn around twice in his own zone over here to Enstrom and back to him. Lost it. Centering pass and a high shot ripped over the net by McMillan. Handle the puck maybe too much in there in his own zone, but they get away with it. The other way for Wheeler. Escapes one hit. Gets over in front and lost it as he tried to bring it back. Chip Chura took it away. He's out for Arizona. Skips over center. Made a good stick handling play to come in on a sharp angle and tried it. Won't beat Pavelec there. Turned it back though on the puck. Reeder's shot deflected wide and out of play. Byfuglien is having another whale of a game, and he seems to be enjoying it.
9:02 left in the third period here at MTS Center. Next Issue and Sportsnet want to send you to the 2015 Honda NHL All-Star Game in Columbus. Visit nextissues.ca/all-star for your chance to win.
Well, okay, Scott in the face-off is coming up to the left of Pavelec. In goal for Winnipeg. He's been solid again tonight. Arizona have had 22 shots. Winnipeg 24 in the game. The Jets have scored 3 times. The Coyotes once. But it's still up for grabs. Byfuglien missed it that time. Got a second chance and played it well behind his own net. Lifted one ahead. They're going to get out of the zone. And the Winnipeg Jets attack at the blue line. Little was nailed trying to chase his own shoot in. And Yandel turns around with the puck. A long pass gets up across center for Vermette. He was knocked down. Doan slipped the high one in over that Winnipeg line. And again, the Jets get control. And Sherratt dumped it in. Winnipeg heading off. Wholesale changes made by the Jets, who are leading. Final score of 3-1 and a hit at center ice. Just outside the line, really.
This is going to be an interference penalty for sure on this hit, as Stewart absolutely levels Gagne.
Trainer talking to Gagne now. Still on his 2 knees. Look at this.
A shot from behind. The puck went by Gagne. And in fact, he didn't touch it at all. And that's why Stewart's going to be in the penalty box for interference. Gagne seems to be okay as he was down for quite some time, now going to the player's bench.
Picked up his stick, skated off, and he stays right there on the bench for now. Arizona is 0 for 2 in the game on the power play. This is a great opportunity to really make a whale of a third period finish. Interference was the call, as you said, Greg. So power play for Arizona.
And their power play all comes off their point shot. When they are going, they get Ekman-Larsson teeing it up from the point with good traffic in front. And if that doesn't work, Doan loves to walk the goal line and take the puck right to the front of the net.
Coming into the game, nearly 25% efficiency was the power play of this Arizona team. They need one badly right here. Here we go. Win the faceoff. Quick pass, ring wide. No shot on goal, just shot in off the boards near the net, giving Winnipeg a chance, if they can, to get the puck out. Looks good for Harrison. Headed ahead. Kolik waited too long. Had his stick lifted. Vermette with the puck. Got it over here, but it was slapped out and down the ice. And Yandel will come back to start it off again for Arizona. 25 seconds gone in the power play. They had a chance a moment ago. Now looking for another. Carrying the puck over the line carefully is Shane Doan. Along the boards, lost it. It's going to be cleared. Galloping away is Kane. One man back, and he lost possession of the puck. Yandel was coming back with him. He looked up and lost the puck. The other way, Ekman Larson here on this right side. They control it, but lose it again to Evander Kane again.
7 shorthanded goals for the Winnipeg Jets. That's tied for first in the league in that department.
This is Yandel coming on. Couldn't dump it over the line deep. 47 seconds left to kill on this penalty. 4 players jam the puck, and the referee calls the play.
Rogers Hometown Hockey. Presented by Scotiabank. And by Dodge.
6:59 left in the third. 44 seconds left in the penalty, which was called on Mark Stewart for interference. He nailed Gagne. So now the puck deep in the Arizona zone. Power play group starts up to center. Dropped in over the line, backed up a little bit by Hansel. Over here, a shot. Look out, in the goal. Well, it looked harmless. Into the crowd. And the goalie seemed to have it. Pavelec looked like he had it, but he couldn't hang on to it. And it's going to be the goal by Korpikoski. Watch this.
Well, Michael Stone's got a really hard shot from the point, and the hometown kid lets it rip here. And you're right, Bob. I think that Korpikoski in front's going to redirect this puck in past Pavelec, who is right on the doorstep, and the goaltender had no chance whatsoever on that particular play. Right at the top of the circle, Stone lets it rip. Nobody in front of the net except Korpikoski, and he redirects it past the goaltender Pavelec to get the Arizona Coyotes back in this game.
Really back in the game. 6:39 left, and it's a 1-goal game again. 3-2. Korpikoski right in front of the goalie. Got a stick on that shot. Now Pavelec hooks a high one away on the glass. Arizona attacking. Coyotes dump it in behind the net. Vitale tried to center it. Pass didn't come off for Crombeen, who was open in front of the goal. Korpikoski's 4th of the season from Stone, who took the shot, and Yandel, who started the play over the line. 13:21 to time. Puck is kept in. Joe Vitale on the boards. Crombeen is there with him. And McMillan, 3 of them. McMillan gets the puck to the blue line for Yandel. He comes in to take a shot. Is knocked down in front, and Winnipeg will turn it out, led by Frolik. Up to center, dumped it ahead. Kane was with him. And back is Connor Murphy. Slapped hard on the boards by Yandel. It's not out. The hitting is picking up. But the Coyotes are on the puck, thinking about one more goal to tie it. Doan centered it beautifully, but it came off the stick of Reeder. Hard to control that one. Vermette got it back to the blue line. The pass went by him into the corner again. And the fight for it, Shane Doan gets it. Out to the line, but right under the stick of Haluschuk, and he shot it off the boards, clearing the zone. Coyotes have to come back and regroup. 5:12 left in the third period. Doan, long shift for him. Backhands the pass off the boards, stays on the ice, doesn't go off, and comes in looking for it. Just missed getting it too. Long shot to the glove of Pavelec. He'll hang on. A 1-goal game with 4:57 remaining in the third. Welcome back to Winnipeg Hockey Night in Canada on City. I'm Bob Cole with Greg Millen and Scott Oak at the MTS Center in the True North, as they like to call it here in Winnipeg. It's another sellout crowd on this Sunday evening. A 1-goal game, 3-2 the score. Winnipeg ahead with 4:57 left in regulation time. Now a face-off to the right of Pavelec in the Winnipeg net. Hansel will try to win it. Can't do it. The Jets get control in their own zone. Crowd goal trying to come out. Here it is. Down the center and up over the line comes Little. Dropped it back. Wheeler was hit. Puck is kept in, but that pass onto the stick of Gagne, and he brings it back down the ice. Gagne in a high slot throws it back to the blue line. Fired into the corner by Ekman Larsson around the net. Centering pass. Great save by Pavelec. That pad went down. He made a game saver right there. For now, Arizona picks up the pace. They're on the puck again with Hansel getting it in over the line. They're heading for the net. Gagne was open, but the pass was intercepted. Fired away by Kane down the other way. Kane comes up to rush at the puck inside that Arizona blue line. Kolik is coming up behind him, but he got there too late, and Murphy is out. Down goes the pass over the line. Yandel's shot. That's missed the net on the glove side of Pavelec. Kept in there. Another great chance, and another big save by Pavelec. Gagne came off the boards. Score! They've tied it up. It was Yandel first, and now the crowd. And from the crowd, Vermette will get the tying goal here in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I think it did hit him, Bob. We'll have to see. Certainly a crowd in front of the net. But a great save moments before. There's the first one as Pavelec saves the day in front of the net. And then shortly there afterwards, a glove save. So, I mean, the Arizona Coyotes are all over. And then here's the shot from the point. And I believe you're right. It hit Vermette at the high slot and then redirected it. It hit Ryder as well. Yep, it hit Vermette. Then it hit Ryder, and then over top of Pavelec to give the Coyotes the tie here with 3:50 to go.
We'll wait for the official, but the big story is fighting back this young team from Arizona, and it's a 3-3 tie with 3:33 left to play. You talk about threes wild. Well, they're coming again, three abreast. With a shot on goal and stopped by Pavelec. In behind the net, Winnipeg backing up a little bit on their heels. Chris Thorburn lifted the puck out and down the ice. Back in a hurry is Michael Stone. Puck is off the boards, and Darren Ekman Larsson plays it out. Carries away with it. Looks great coming to center. Looks a little better getting up over the line. Coming on Gagne. Centered it. No shot. It's dumped in front of the net goal. Winnipeg coming apart, it seems, at this stage. Dangerous stage of the third period. Getting back is Toby Enstrom. He's covered right away by Hansel. Puck loose, dropped out in front of the net, and then cleared away. Racing down is Andrew Ladd. Got as far as center. Tough controlling it. Kicked it ahead and bumped it in past Yandel. 2:38 left to play in the third. We're in a tie in Winnipeg now when it looked like the Jets were home comfortably with a 2-goal lead in a hard-fought game, which saw a 1-goal lead at best. Then the 2-goal lead, and that's erased. It is 3-3 now. Going in on the forecheck, made a good play, stopping it. Couldn't center it though. Lost it to Scheifele. He turns the puck up, knifed away by Vander Kane down inside the line. And they're going to call that offside, and this sellout crowd won't enjoy this. It was a slow coming call too. Icing is going to be the call, and they'll bring it all the way down.
Well, this all started with Stewart here with an interference penalty. Not a good penalty to take with his team up by 2 goals. That resulted in a power play goal as it went off Kurakowski in front of the net. And then moments ago, Ryder tips this one past Pavelec after he made 2 terrific saves. Controversial icing play here, and Vermette with the draw.
Yandel assisting on 2 goals. That time goal was scored by Reeder, his 6th of the season. At 16-10, we're down to 1:55 left to play in the third. A 3-3 tie in Winnipeg. Kralik 2 whacks at the puck. They finally get it out. And stepping up is Sherratt. Put a pass over in front. It comes loose. Quick shot fired wide of the net. Dropped back from the line. Just keep it in, but it's called in the offside. It did come out. Bufflin didn't think so. Put it back in, and he thought they had tagged up. 1:35 to go. Penalty going to be called.
Wow, Bufflin's going to get it.
Talked a bit too much after that last call.
Unsportsmanlike is the call.
Watson calls it.
And he's chirping about that initial play on the icing. Doesn't like it. And then
Better settle down in case it goes to overtime.
Oh boy. And Byfuglien tries to keep the puck in here. Goes back to the point. And then that's blowing down, and that's sort of an accumulation of that play, plus the icing earlier that he thought Kane beat out. And now he's in the box for unsportsmanlike.
Puck fired on the boards and down the ice. Winnipeg will try now to hang on and go to overtime. It'll be a power play for Arizona again. Yandel coming up. Dropped it over there on that left side. Brought back to Yandel at the blue line. And he delivers a pass over the side. Ekman-Larsson carries on. Back to Yandel. He takes the shot. Pavelec somehow saw that and made the save. Kept in by Korpikoski. And at the line, Yandel. Waiting to take a shot. He won't. Goes with the pass instead. Now wide open. Ekman-Larsson knocked down though. We're in the final minute of regulation, and it's Andrew Ladd. Bringing it up over the line and put the shot on. Right pad save, Mike Smith. And then Ladd was decked in there. 43 seconds remaining. Another rush up the ice. Gagne brought it over the line, lost it. Dumped out by Wheeler. He did get it up there. He had two mates coming with him, but couldn't get it far enough. 2-on-1, Gagne bringing it in. Gagne! And he's stopped by Pavelec with only 28 seconds remaining in regulation time. Wow.
Well, I mentioned the Byfuglien play at the blue line, but he was also upset. He felt that Kane beat out this icing as well, and it was a tip. And here he goes. And that was close. And then now on the power play, a breakdown by Winnipeg and a 2-on-1 break, and Gagne just rifles it right into Pavelec, and Pavelec comes right out to make a nice save on the angle.
Arizona 2 goals in 2 minutes and 49 seconds, tying the game. 23 seconds left in regulation time. Doan with the puck. Got it out front, intercepted and cleared carefully off the boards by Jim Slater. 14 seconds remaining. Time for one more rush for Arizona if they hurry. Keith Yandel, long pass. That'll start him. Doan over the line, just onside. The pass gets over in front of the net. Doan missed it a second time, and the horn goes to end regulation time. So, coming up in Winnipeg tonight, between Arizona and Winnipeg, overtime. Well, they were down, but they were not out.
Let's look at the goals tonight. That was the 1-0 goal. Then it was tied up 1-1 in the first period. And then a bad miscue by Smith. And that set Frolik in front to give the Jets the lead. 2-1, 3-1, and a Byfuglien 2-on-1 play to make it 3-1. And it looked like it was all Winnipeg. And then Korpikoski deflects the puck to get the Arizona back in the game. And then Reeder here deflects another puck after a couple of big saves by Pavelec. And we've got a tie hockey game going into overtime.
4-on-4 overtime in Winnipeg. When it looked like the Jets were home and cooled out with a 2-goal lead, when goals became very stingy in the hockey game.
Byfuglien still in the box for 25 seconds here, Bob. And a 4-on-3 situation for Arizona.
Arizona 6-4 in overtime this season. Winnipeg 6-8. So let's see what happens. The shots ended up 30 for Coyotes, 25 for the Jets in 60 minutes of hockey. Now here's your overtime period. Hansel was thrown out. That is Gagne on the face-off for Arizona. They've been winning them all night. And again this time, Yandel tapped it in over the line deep. Up is Gagne first. Poked at the puck along the boards. Coming in is Hansel to help them. They're 2-1 on Winnipeg. You'd think they'd get the puck. And they give it up. It's lifted high down the ice by Little. Winnipeg is changing. Yandel right through the middle with the pass. Turning back is Hansel. Fired the puck in around the net. It'll be Wheeler who will pick it up off the boards. Give the pass. That's pretty good pass too to Bogosian. But he was hammered just coming inside the line by Oliver Efren Larsson stood him up right in his tracks inside the blue line. Winnipeg after the puck in there. Turning it around is Ladd. Got it along the boards. Wheeler stick handle ahead by himself. Back again to the line, but it'll come outside the blue line. 3:55 left in overtime. Bogosian turns back. Winnipeg in control. Scheifele looks good coming up, but they lost it trying to get to the line. That leaves Vermette a chance. Comes up, shoots. Right on for Pavelec to hold. And a face-off will come in the Winnipeg zone.
Well, Byfuglien's got to be a little bit careful here. I mean, on this play, the reason he really got the penalty is he takes the puck and knocks it away from the official as he's going to pick it up. And that's why he got the penalty. And then now he comes out of the penalty box and gets away with this, as he gives a pretty good shot coming across to Ekman Larsson. So Byfuglien losing it a bit here. He got away with it in terms of the penalty he took, but he's got to be careful. He'll be back in the box.
Winnipeg in control and skating in is Kane. And a good move to slip it by the one defender, but then he was caught by Murphy. Arizona's turn. Pass was on the skate in the end. They'll have to get back quickly. Ripped it on the boards, wide of his own net. And behind the goal, Kane centered it. The goalie shoveled it away. And it shot out across the line to center ice again. 3:10 left in the overtime period. Scheifele will try to do it this time. Takes the shot all right, but it was easily blocked, and it goes out of play.
Well, for this Winnipeg team, this is 7 games and 11 nights, and you have to wonder if there's a bit of a fatigue factor here, as they had the lead in the game in hand, but they have not been quite as sharp here today in this hockey game. Meanwhile, a back-to-back situation for Arizona, but they have played a pretty strong game and haven't gone away at all throughout the contest.
Big face-off again in the Coyote zone. They win another draw. Stone comes away slowly, takes a look. Really didn't see anybody open. Whoa! Good thing Mike Smith was alive and well. That was so dangerous. But nothing happened, as it turned out. Over the line for Vitale. Couldn't reach the puck. Winnipeg turns it back. Off the boards across center. Little cuts inside. Little again with the puck. Takes a look back. Goes in behind the net with a pass. But Foley couldn't stop it. He lost his stick. Vitale dumped it to center. It got up there near Korpikoski. He couldn't carry on, but they bring it in anyway. Vitale was open. It was intercepted in front of him. Shot off the boards in around the net. And there is Ladd. Gets going down to center ice. Wheeler is up with him. Wheeler gets the pass. Rebound. And they can't beat the goalie. Cleared back out and down the ice for Gagne. He'll bring it across center and drop it. Carrying on is Hansel. Won't get anywhere with that rush attempt. The other way for Byfuglien. He missed it. Turned it back though. Joining him, Bogosian. Takes a shot. Hit a stick. Right to Smith. Shoveled it up and held on to it. But was he great a moment ago?
Yeah, he's been great all game, really, as Mike Smith's had another strong game for his team. That's back-to-backs. As a change here by Arizona catches him, and Wheeler had an excellent chance in position A, and a nice play. And I know you want to score in your hometown, but not your own net. It's Michael Stone threw him right towards the goalie, and Smith wasn't ready, and he just picked it up at the last second.
Face-off now coming in the big circle to the right of Mike Smith. 1:49 left in regulation time. No, in overtime, I should say. And anybody's game since the goal by Reeder. That's 16:10 of the third. Vermette can't find room to get out. Shovel the puck out. Doan looks over. Tried to pass it. That was knocked down, and Doan took his man out of the play. Scheifele got a stick on it briefly. That's enough to get him going. Scheifele gets the pass. Comes in. Passes back. Oh, what a glove save by Mike Smith. Scheifele played it beautifully all the way for Kane.
Well, this is the goaltending that Arizona's been looking for all season long, and Mike Smith with a bit of an off season, although he has not had a lot of help in front of him. And there's a beautiful glove save on Kane on a 4-on-2 break, as Arizona was caught on the other end with Shane Doan getting caught way up the ice.
1:25 left. Face-offs, so important. Little tries to win it and does. That's a good sign from the blue line. Cross ice pass by Sherrod, intercepted. This is Reeder. He could win the game for Arizona. He's stopped by Pavlik. I think he get his right foot on it. Back up for Buffalo. This looks dangerous. Coming in, no shot. Keeps going with the puck. Fell behind the net. He was tripped back there by Keith Yandle. And that'll be called. Yandle will go off with 1:05 left in overtime.
Well, Reeder takes off at the one end after a giveaway by Sherratt, and he just flies right through the neutral zone. And watch Sherratt, though, pretty good defensive play to get back after he made the initial mistake. And then the puck goes all the way around and ends up on Bufflin's stick, and there is a trip by Yandle, and a huge opportunity now for Winnipeg to finish this game off with $1:05 left in regulation time.
Their power play has not been great over the season, but this one, Greg, is a little different when you're talking 4-on-3.
Well, Bob, actually the power play, though, at the start of the year, you're right, was not very good. But the last 24 games, it's been running at about 25%. It's really picked up. One of the reasons, though, has been Perreault. He's been on the half boards. He's been a real asset in terms of setting the Jets' power play up. And, of course, Paul Maurice doesn't have the luxury of having him in the lineup tonight because of an injury.
So now we'll get set to go with only 1:05 remaining in overtime. Last 5 home games, we're talking about the power play for Winnipeg. It has been really hot. That's the last 5 games, over 40% as a matter of fact. Let's see what happens here when it's really needed. 4-on-3, power play in overtime.
Tally at the draw, 4 for 9 for Phoenix in that area.
Little comes in for Winnipeg. Here we are. Batted outside the line to center ice. Now we're in the final minute of overtime. Ladd got it over the line onside. Little ready. Ladd over here. A stick got in front of that pass for Ladd. Now at the blue line, Buffalo. They'd love him to pump one in right here. It's still in his control. Buffalo turns, looks at the net, sharp angle for him. So goes to Little, back to Buffalo, shoots. Stopped by Smith, 34 seconds left. Buffalo hooked it loose for Wheeler. Around the net, Wheeler looks out, thinks about coming out, goes to Buffalo, here to Little. The shot in there, deflected, over the glass, into the netting, and the clock says 23.2 seconds remaining.
Pretty good penalty killing by Arizona, and Vitale with a nice block as he just takes that out of there. A good save by Smith, first of all, and Buffalo on the half boards as he reads that well, and then the block here by Vitale. And now as the face-offs on the other side, it'll be Vermette taking the draw, and he's 75% on the draws for Arizona tonight.
And Little, who just won an important face-off on the other side, will try to win one on this side. He cannot. And that'll be cleared out and down the ice. That may be it for overtime. 15 seconds remaining. They'll have to go hard. Buffalo threw it up for Little. In over the line, they can do it here. Ladd to Buffalo. Can't get a shot. 4 seconds. Turning. They're hollering to shoot. And the save is made. Right on the green light. Another save by Mike Smith. So we've got to settle it with a shootout tonight.
Mike Smith, the main reason why Arizona gets a point is he was spectacular in the third period in particular. And in the dying seconds, I'm not sure this would have counted, but he was right there anyway to make the save on Blake Wheeler. And how big is this point for the Winnipeg Jets now in the shootout?
The shots totaled 31 for Coyotes, 30 for the Jets.
The Shootout, brought to you by Scotiabank, proud supporter of over 5,000 community hockey teams and Canada's 5th season.
Now, hold on.
We got it, Bob. We're all good.
We're waiting for the first shooters in the shootout. And Winnipeg has chosen here at home to shoot first. That'll be Blake Wheeler. Wheeler is 3 for 7 in the shootout. That's this season. He's been one of the great veterans for this team. Now he's on the spot. Coming in the shootout, first shot. Whoa, he did everything but beat the goalie, Mike Smith. Thought he had him fooled, but he did not.
Shooting first for the Arizona Coyotes, number 9, Sam Gagne.
Great save by the goalie from Arizona. Gagne now stepping up. Missed the net. So nobody has scored so far. Kane will try it for Winnipeg.
Now shooting for the Winnipeg Jets.
They've got 2 great goalies in this shootout tonight. Here's Evander Kane. Stopped by this goalie, Mike Smith. Will anybody score? Vermette will take the shot for Arizona.
50, Antoine Vermette.
Takes his time. Can't score. Havlicek. He waited all the way through those moves.
And stared him down afterwards saying, what were you doing with that?
Now Little for Winnipeg. Brian Little. He's 0 for 6. He's 1 for 7. And what a time to get that first one. Doan is going to try to tie it up. What a story for Shane Doan. Questionable with a shot in the ankle the other day. He's playing. Now he can tie it. He cannot beat Havlicek. The goalie wins it. And Winnipeg scores 2 points here in Winnipeg tonight.
Havlicek with the big save, the disappointment on Doan's face. But a huge point for the Winnipeg Jets that desperately need every point they can get in this very tight Western Conference race. And everybody's going home happy here in Winnipeg tonight.
So Winnipeg wins it. And they're a little more comfortable in that wild card spot. Back to Ron.